Welcome back to Movies TV Mad and Wednesday's edition of the DCU Daily. James Gunn always comes out fighting, no matter the criticism of his historical tweets, the fancy dress parties he went to, the criticisms of his film and his style of filmmaking, the leaking of test screenings in the 30 minutes allegedly shaved off of his Superman movie, the episodic narrative taken away from his Superman movie. No matter what is said about James Gunn and his Superman movie, he and his cast always come out fighting. He reminds me of the animated character Batthink. Your bullets cannot harm me, my wings are like a shield of steel. Do you remember Batthink? Never mind. Anyway, he's come out fighting in an interview in a big spread to do with the marketing of Superman in Entertainment Weekly. I've got a lot of quotes from him and the cast about this Superman movie from that article, but two huge things came out. Not only is he saying that he's working on a Superman sequel, which may not necessarily just be about Superman. Well, we actually know, we don't know, but it's the worst kept secret at DC Studios that he's developing a world's finest movie. Now, isn't it ironic? Now, World's Finest is going to be very different to Batman vs. Superman Dawn of Justice. It's about the positive relationship between Batman and Superman. But isn't it ironic? The DCEU had a first Superman movie, and sequel was a shared movie between Superman and Batman, and James Gunn is doing exactly the same for the DCU. But he wasn't only teasing a Superman sequel, which is probably World's Finest, which excites me as a DC fan. I don't care if you hate me for that. He also confirmed that they're at the early stages of writing a Wonder Woman movie. Hip hip hooray. Hip hip hooray. Hip hip hooray. Because I don't want a Wonder Woman streaming show that's geo-locked, that I and most of you don't have any access to. So I'm very, very excited about this. The questions will begin. Is Gal Gadot playing Wonder Woman? Absolutely not. Gal Gadot is out as Wonder Woman. She was always going to be out as Wonder Woman because we know that Henry Cavill is out as Superman. We think most probably that Ben Affleck won't be the DCU Batman, but funnier things have fucking happened, and I'm here for that. That would be crazy. I don't see it, but anything's possible at this stage. So everyone's out from the DCEU apart from like John Cena as Peacemaker. I think we're definitely still going to see Viola Davis as Amanda Waller as well. I'm assuming, although Waller the series, which was going to be on Max, HBO Max or whatever they're calling it today, is on the back burner, probably not going to happen. But now they're confirming that they're developing in the early stages of writing a Wonder Woman movie. Does this mean the Wonder Woman prequel, Paradise Lost, is also on the back burner, dead at HBO Max? I suspect so, but who knows? Maybe they're starting to realise, like Disney are, that streaming is dead. Not quite. As we spoke about yesterday with WB splitting into two companies, David Zaslav is going to die on the streaming hill, and if he's not careful, he will die on the streaming hill, because Disney are right. Streaming is finished. It never even started unless your name is Netflix, and Prime are doing okay. Apple TV are losing a lot of money. So I'm really happy that Wonder Woman isn't going to be geo-locked on HBO Max, and they're developing a movie. Very, very interesting, but don't be surprised if Wonder Woman shows up in the World's Finest Superman sequel. These are not negative things, they're very exciting things if you're a DC fan. But I would still question James Gunn on speaking about sequels and other films and projects being in development when he doesn't know how well or how badly his upcoming Superman is going to be. That's the only thing about that. But maybe they've done the maths because they know. They know how this movie's going to do. They haven't told us what they think. You know, the tickets are going on sale. If they're not on sale, they're on sale in some countries across the world. But they will be going on sale across the world in America, UK, UK, America, other countries that we're going to be very interested in to see how the pre-sales are doing. But maybe they already know that this film is going to be a success. I wake up some mornings thinking this film could make a lot of money. And then I wake up on other mornings when I hear they shaved off 30 minutes of the movie and took away Gunn's, episodic narrative. I want to see that director's cut, by the way. We'll never see because Gunn doesn't really release director's cuts. But I'd love to see it. I'm so sad and slightly less excited about this movie because they've shaved off 20 to 30 minutes and taken away Gunn's episodic narrative. But maybe this will still be a very good movie. Now, I will be reading loads of quotes. Apparently, there is one post-credit scene in this movie. Now, the rumour is it's Brainiac. Now, Gunn also spoke about Matt Reeves' The Batman. I'm not sure if I screenshotted that from the Entertainment Weekly article. We'll soon find out, I suppose. But he said Matt Reeves is only in the early stages of developing The Batman 2, and we shouldn't listen to anything else in the press. Very, very interesting. Matt Reeves is only in the early stages of developing his The Batman 2. What is going on with this movie? Let me tell you this. If they cancelled Superman and Lois at the end of season 4 because they didn't want any competing Superman properties, do you really think they're going to want a competing Batman property? I will leave that with you. But very exciting, a Superman sequel is in development and a Wonder Woman movie is in the early stages of being written. Again, we don't know by who, but I'm very excited. We're going to get a Teen Titans movie. I'm very, very excited. I can't be excited for Lanterns because I'm not going to be able to see it. And that's going to really frustrate me next year. Anyway, let's read some of these quotes. I mean, here we go. David Cornsworth on leading DCU's Justice League film. I mean, that sounds awesome. I don't take it upon myself to think ahead in that kind of way, just because one would hate to get one's hopes up about anything in particular and then have it go in another direction. What I like to do is stay blissfully ignorant, and then when James tells me what's going to happen, I get to have a wonderful surprise. So if Justice League is in the back of his mind, that sounds great to me. It sounds great to me as well, David. David's a great talker. You notice how they're talking publicly. There's no gender wars. There's no culture war. They're being very positive. This is how old Hollywood used to promote movies, and it's good. And this is how James Gunn does it. The man isn't stupid. David Corns went on comparisons to Christopher Reeve. I've listened to Christopher Reeve talk about how he felt going from theatre and a classical training to wearing tights on screen. It's harder in some ways to play Superman and then to do a great play or a dramatic film because as an actor you feel like the seriousness of the work somehow supports you. It allows you, the whole thing, to feel more grounded. There is a unique challenge to playing a guy who wears his underwear on the outside and can fly. I think I had the great fortune of getting a little bit of both. I was definitely on Team Trunks on the outside for this iteration of Superman, but I certainly felt James took the work very, very seriously. And I think he has taken the work very seriously because this Superman movie is so important to the DCU being successful. And who knows if it's going to be successful. I've had my doubts, as you know. Metahumans have been around for centuries in the DCU. Gunn has said this before, but it's interesting to hear him talk about it again. In this world, humanity has been clued into the existence of metahumans, i.e. superpowered individuals, for 300 years. Gunn reveals, if you saw a sharp man walking down the street, you'd probably vomit and shit yourself to death, he says. If they saw one, it would be more like if you saw Paul McCartney on the sidewalk in New York. So metahumans are like celebrities in the DCU. I like the fact that they already exist. We don't want to do the whole let's build it up slowly bullshit, because WB don't have time to build this shit up slowly, so I like that. James Gunn on David Zaslav's comment about these 4 characters that will be the pillars and asset builders of the DCU. I wouldn't say only those 4 characters, but I would say that those 4 characters are incredibly important to us right now. I feel great about where 2 of those characters are, and then we're dealing with the other 2. So to remind you, David Zaslav said Superman, Wonder Woman, Batman and Supergirl will be the 4 pillars of the DCU. And the way Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow is shaping up, I think that could be a big banker for them as well. Wonder Woman is one of the biggest characters in fiction. Make no mistake about this. She's as huge as Superman and Batman. She is. And she should be very much part of, of their aesthetic. As she was in the Snyderverse, it's going to be hard to see anyone else but Gal as Wonder Woman, because I don't think she's the greatest actor. I think her real life conduct isn't great when we talk about certain situations, but she was a great Wonder Woman, and I loved that first Wonder Woman movie, and I thought she was great in the Snyder Cut. Credit where credit is due. When Snyder directs her, when Snyder's around her, she turns into a half-decent actress, and that's very interesting, because in Snow White, she looked like a bad fucking joke. And I said at the time, that was the worst casting ever. She just didn't have the talent, the tools to play an evil witch. David Corenswet on who he gets compared to of the Superman actors. I've also got a lot of physical comparisons to Tom Welling, who played Superman and Clark Kent on Smallville. When I was growing up, he was the Superman who was on TV every week. I think to one extent or another, all of the Superman actors, there's some Venn diagram of our physical characteristics, which makes sense for a superhero who is classically the one who doesn't wear a mask. So very well said by David, yeah. They all look pretty much the same. Dark black hair, blue eyes, chiseled features, ribbed body, that's who they are, because he is the archetypal strongman. Is that a reference to, whatever this means? I grew up reading DC and Marvel comics and having worlds and universes of superheroes who were interacting. I grew up watching Super Friends on Saturday mornings. That's how Dean Cain got into Superman as well, by the way. Where are we? Who were interacting. I grew up watching Super Friends on Saturday mornings. It's a long time coming to be able to be part of a work in which superheroes are real. We don't have to explain everyone away. There's a little bit of magic in this world. There's science beyond our understanding in this world. This is the kind of place where there's an island full of dinosaurs and probably exists. James Gunn. So I like all this, because this craziness, this magic, these crazy characters all exist. They're already there and everyone's talking about them. That's a very good idea. And, the magic element and the science element will be very, very interesting as well. Nev Howe is proud to be part of Superman. If I'm going to be in a Superman film, I'm so glad it's this one, because it has more heart and such a beautiful heart that I'm proud. I'm proud to be part of this particular Superman. So, without saying it, she's comparing it to the Snyderverse, isn't she? She's saying that this has more heart than Man of Steel. I think Man of Steel does have heart to it. Probably this film is a little bit lighter, but we will see about that. Nev is playing Ma Kent. I'm still not sure about her. We'll have to see her performance. I think we've seen some tremendous actors playing, Ma and Pa Kent. So Nev Howe has really got a hard act to follow. Diane Lane to me and Annette O'Toole were the pinnacle Ma Kents, and they were amazing. Neve, whatever your name is, you have got a very hard act to follow. This is Neve Howell again. Didn't know she was auditioning for Mark Kent in Superman. That made up for a lot of rejection. I came close before, very close, when James Gunn called me over and said, "We want you to be our Ma." I just kind of fell into him. I was so shocked. So that's nice, you know, Neve Howell just being very happy and proud to be playing this character. Again, this is an old style, old Hollywood's way of promoting a movie. Leave the politics to one side. If there is political discourse in this movie, let the movie do the talking, but be positive while you're promoting the movie, as they're doing here. James Gunn says you won't have to watch Superman to enjoy Supergirl, Woman of Tomorrow. I'm really trying to be careful that anybody can dip in and see the story that is up next and not feel like they're missing information. This is very important, because one of the problems of the MCU, you have to watch fucking everything, and as James has said before, it becomes like homework. We don't want the DCU to feel like something we have to do instead of want to do and enjoy doing. Do you know what I mean? Spoilers ahead. The Lois and Clark interview in Superman is a meaty scene, about 10 to 12 pages worth of script, in which Lois arrives at her apartment to find her boyfriend Clark Kent attempting rather poorly to cook an anniversary meal. Their playful banter highlights their romantic chemistry, but also how they challenge each other, and they will challenge each other in this movie. We've seen a portion of that interview segment at the beginning of the official trailer. A lot of people didn't like it. I thought it was fucking fantastic, and it's different. It's different. We don't want a repeat of Superman 78 or Man of Steel or Smallville. We want Gunn to have done his own thing, fingers crossed. That's exactly what he's done here. Yeah, this is what he said about the Batman 2. James Gunn says he still hasn't seen the Batman 2 script, but confirms the film is happening. What Matt's doing is still really important, despite all the stories to the contrary. So this is very, very interesting. Very interesting. Let's reread this. What Matt is doing is still really important, despite all the stories to the contrary. But James, what is he actually doing? What is he actually doing? That's the question we're all asking. Is he making The Batman 2 a sequel to an Elseworld movie we saw a few years back? Or is he doing your Batman movie for the DCU? This stuff will be confirmed weeks after Superman is released, the dust is settled, hopefully it's made the money they want it to make, then they can actually tell us what's going on. What Matt's doing is still really important. Interesting, isn't it? Wonder Woman will officially enter James Gunn's new DC universe. Gunn says a new Wonder Woman movie is being written right now, as is a Superman sequel in some way. Is it a straight up sequel? I would not say necessarily. We know, pretty much without him saying, it's a world's finest movie, but it is a sequel to his first Superman movie, and this is exciting. James Gunn on the character of Superman. I wanted to tell the story about someone who was truly good in a world that doesn't value goodness, in a world that makes fun of basic kindness and basic human values. The fact that he can fly, lift buildings and shoot laser beams out of his eyes was really secondary to who he was as a person and what he stood for. And that's always been the way with Superman. He's a good person. But these days we're very suspicious and cynical about good people, and the way James is going at this has always been very interesting to me. In this film, Superman will be very much up against it because people don't believe he's as good as he claims to be. There's actually a TV spot. He said he was sent to Earth to make the world a better place. I'm paraphrasing here. I like that. I think that's really good. And that basically is who Superman is. Yeah, basically, again, James Gunn says he's working on a Superman follow-up, but don't expect a traditional sequel. Is it a straight-up Superman sequel? I would not say necessarily, which we've already read out. So it's interesting that he's talking about this now, but I think he just is trying to tease and he's trying to bring more hype onto this Superman movie. David Collins worked on the duality of Superman, Clark, and the man in between. We also had this third character of who Clark is when he's in a room with somebody who knows both sides of him. He's not really playing the character of Superman, but he's also not really playing the role of Clark either. It's a personality that comes out with his parents, Britt Taylor Vince and Neva Howe, who played Jonathan and Martha Kent, and with Lois once she really gets to know everything about him. Now, does Jimmy Olsen know who Clark really is? He seems to have the watch, so maybe he does, or maybe he's just Superman's power without knowing who Superman truly is. We'll find out on July the 11th. And there you go it. There's all those quotes. Wow, that was amazing to read and to see what James and the cast have been saying. So in terms of promotion, in terms of marketing, in terms of quotes, they're doing absolutely the right thing here. And if the movie does fail, it's nothing to do with what they're doing now. The TV spots, the marketing, they're going to be going all over the world and they're going to be absolutely positive about this film. If this film fails, I won't blame James Gunn anymore. I will blame David Zaslav and the people at Warner Brothers. They're the ones who took away 20 to 30 minutes of this movie. I'm going on about it because it's really pissed me off. And the episodic narrative, which would have been very unique and very, very interesting. I'm looking forward on June not June. No, not June. I'm in June now, ain't I? I'm very much looking forward to, on July the 11th, going to the cinema, my local cinema, and watching Superman back to back, and then giving you my honest, genuine review on the movie. Bring it on.